Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the English Podcast Every Day. I'm Emma, and if you're listening to this, you probably understand English. But thinking in English still feels hard.
Yeah, that feeling when English is in your head, but not in your thoughts. You know the words, you know the grammar, but your mind still goes back to your own language.
Exactly. And today, that's what we're talking about. How to think in English, and more importantly, why it feels so difficult in the first place.
This topic comes up all the time. People say, I understand everything, but I still translate in my head. And honestly, that's completely normal.
Very normal. Most learners think something is wrong with them. But the problem isn't their English level. It's how the brain was trained.
Right. Your brain learned English through rules, lists, and translations. So naturally, it tries to translate first and think later.
And that translation step is exhausting. It slows you down, breaks your confidence, and makes speaking feel stressful instead of natural.
I like how you said that. Stressful. Because thinking in English isn't about being perfect. It's about feeling comfortable inside the language.
That's why in this episode, we're not giving you tricks or hacks. We're starting with awareness, understanding why your mind works this way.
Once you understand that, thinking in English stops feeling impossible. It starts feeling trainable. So if you've ever thought, I know English, but my brain won't switch, you're in the right place.
And this podcast is here for exactly that. To help you build English naturally, step by step, without pressure. Let's start from the beginning.
Let's talk about what actually happens in your head. You want to say something simple, but before the words come out, your brain stops.
Yeah, there's this pause. Not because you don't know English, but because your mind is searching for the perfect sentence.
And during that pause, your first language jumps in. It says, let me help. And suddenly, you're translating instead of thinking.
That's such a good way to describe it. Translation feels helpful at first, but over time, it becomes a habit you don't even notice.
Exactly. And habits are powerful, especially mental ones. Your brain goes where it feels safest.
For most learners, safety means their native language. It's faster, more emotional, more automatic.
English, on the other hand, still feels like work. Rules, checks, corrections. So the brain keeps it at a distance.
And here's something important. Thinking in English doesn't start with speaking. It starts with how you process ideas.
Yes, if every idea begins in your native language, English will always feel like a second step. I like that. Not alive yet. Because once English becomes part of your inner world, thinking changes naturally.
That's why people say, I speak English, but I don't feel it. The language is there, but it's not alive yet. And that's the goal of this series. Not forcing English into your head, but letting it grow there.
In the next parts, we'll show you how to break the translation habit. Slowly, naturally, without memorizing endless rules.
But for now, just notice one thing today. When your mind switches languages, don't fight it. Just observe it.
Awareness comes first. Change comes later.
Yes, you are right. And once you see the pattern, you're already on your way to thinking in English. So, now that we know what is happening, let's talk about why the brain resists thinking in English.
Because it really does feel like resistance. Almost like the brain is saying, this is not my job.
Exactly, Jack. And one big reason is how English is usually learned. Most people learn it as a subject, not as a language.
Yeah, English becomes something you study, not something you live in.
You learn rules first, then exceptions, then more rules.
And your brain learns one clear message. English equals effort.
Effort, control, and constant checking. So when you try to think freely, your brain pulls you back to the safe system.
Which is your native language, because that's where thinking is automatic.
Another problem is vocabulary overload. People know too many isolated words, but very few natural connections.
Right. Words exist in the brain, but they don't move together.
So when you try to think, your mind has pieces, not flow.
And without flow, thinking feels slow, uncomfortable, sometimes even embarrassing.
That's when people start blaming themselves. I'm bad at languages. My brain doesn't work this way.
But the truth is, the brain is doing exactly what it was trained to do. Mistakes feel dangerous to the brain, especially if you learned English in a classroom.
Translate, analyze, protect you from mistakes. Classrooms reward correctness, not communication. So your mind learns to wait, to double check, to stay silent.
And silence slowly replaces thinking.
That's such an important point. People think they're not thinking in English, but actually, they're thinking just very carefully.
Too carefully.
So if you're listening and this feels familiar, nothing is broken.
You just learned English in a way that didn't invite your brain to relax.
So let's talk about the first real shift. If thinking in English feels heavy, it's usually because you're thinking in words. And in the next part, we'll start changing that relationship.
They come with spelling, grammar, and fear.
But the brain didn't start with words. It started with images, feelings, and actions.
That's such a good reminder. When you think about your morning, you don't hear sentences, you see moments.
Exactly. You see the alarm, the light in the room, the cup of coffee.
Now imagine trying to translate that morning. Suddenly, it feels tiring.
That's what learners do all day with English. They turn simple ideas into language problems.
So the solution isn't think harder in English, it's think simpler.
Let's give a real example. Say you want to express, I'm tired today.
Most learners first hear it in their native language, then search for the English version.
Instead, picture it. Your shoulders are low. Your energy is gone.
That image already feels like I'm tired.
And it doesn't need to be perfect. Maybe it comes as, really tired today. That's enough.
Thinking in English starts with allowing enough. Not perfect. Picture the room, the silence, the body language.
Another example, you want to say, I didn't feel comfortable there. Once you see it, English doesn't need to explain everything. It just labels the feeling.
That's a big shift. English becomes a tag, not a test.
And here's something people don't talk about enough. You can practice this alone.
All the time. In your head. No pressure.
When you're walking, waiting, doing something boring.
Just describe what you see, not what you should say.
Rain, cold, people waiting.
But they are sentences, but they are thinking.
And thinking comes before speaking. Always.
Once your brain gets used to English labels, it stops asking for permission.
It stops translating.
And English starts to feel closer, more personal.
This isn't about replacing your native language. It's about giving English its own space.
A quiet, pressure-free space. And in the next part, we'll talk about how to use your inner voice to make that space stronger.
That's where thinking begins. So now let's talk about the inner voice. That quiet voice in your head that never stops talking.
And usually it talks in your native language.
Always. Because that's where it feels safe.
What's interesting is people think thinking in English means speaking English out loud all the time.
But it starts way before that. It starts in silence.
In those tiny moments when you're alone with your thoughts. Yeah, they wait until their English sounds good enough.
And here's the problem. Most learners don't allow an English inner voice, which means they wait forever.
Exactly. So the inner voice never gets a chance to grow.
Think about how your inner voice sounds in your own language. It's messy, incomplete, sometimes just fragments.
And yet it works perfectly.
But in English, people expect full sentences, perfect grammar, no mistakes.
That pressure kills the inner voice before it even starts.
So the trick is simple, but uncomfortable at first. Let your inner voice be bad English.
Really bad.
Broken. Short. Sometimes even wrong.
For example, you walk into a room and think, nice place. Not, this is a very nice place.
Exactly. Your brain doesn't talk like that.
Or you look outside and think, too cold. That rain again.
Those thoughts are already English. People just don't count them.
And because they don't count them, they don't trust them.
Here's something I always tell learners. Don't force English thoughts.
Invite them. Like describing what you're doing right now.
Create moments where English can appear naturally. I'm waiting. Scrolling. Need coffee.
That inner commentary is powerful.
Because it connects English to real life, not exercises.
And once English lives in your inner voice, speaking becomes less scary.
You're not starting from zero anymore. You're continuing a thought.
That's such an important difference. 5 minutes, no more.
So, if you want one small practice from this episode, try this tonight. No phone. No pressure.
Just sit and notice your thoughts.
And gently switch one or two of them into English.
Not at all, just a few. And habits change the brain.
That's enough to start changing the habit. In the next part, we'll talk about daily habits that make this automatic.
So English stops being something you turn on and starts being something that's just there.
So now that we've talked about awareness, images, and the inner voice, let's bring everything into daily life. Exactly. You don't wake up one day suddenly thinking in English. You build it quietly.
Because thinking in English doesn't happen in big moments. It happens in small, repeated ones.
When you're doing normal things, walking, cooking, waiting.
One of the simplest habits is narration. Not out loud, just in your head. But don't go too short either.
Right. Instead of just coffee, try, I really need coffee right now. Another powerful habit is repetition with variation.
That extra detail matters. It stretches your thinking gently. I love this one.
Let's say you hear a sentence like, I didn't expect that.
Don't just understand it. Play with it.
I didn't expect this today. I didn't expect him to say that.
You're not memorizing. You're exploring.
And exploration is how the brain learns naturally.
Another thing that really helps is emotional moments.
Yes. English sticks better when there's feeling involved.
When something annoys you, surprises you, or makes you happy,
Pause for a second and name it in English. Those sentences connect English to real reactions.
That was actually nice. And once English is connected to emotion, thinking becomes automatic.
Another habit people underestimate is listening without pressure.
Not studying, not repeating, just listening.
Podcasts, videos, conversations, but without the goal of understanding everything.
Let English wash over you.
Your brain picks up rhythm and structure even when you're relaxed.
And that rhythm shows up later in your thoughts. This one is simple but powerful.
One more habit I really like is end-of-day reflection. Before you sleep, think about your day in English. Just a few moments.
What went well? What felt difficult? What you noticed?
You don't need to explain everything. Just touch the ideas.
That's thinking, not translating.
And over time, these habits change your relationship with English. It becomes a presence.
English stops being a task. Something that's always there, quietly.
So if you're listening and feeling overwhelmed, remember this.
You don't need more rules. Little moments, every day.
You need more gentle contact with English. That's how thinking in English becomes natural.
And that's what we're here to help you build. If you've listened to this series from the beginning, you've probably realized something important. The problem was never your intelligence or your effort.
Before we finish, we want to slow things down for a moment. Because learning to think in English isn't about rushing forward. It's about understanding where you are right now. It was never a lack of vocabulary. And it was never about not trying hard enough.
It was about how English lived in your mind. As a subject, as a test, as something to control.
And throughout these episodes, we talked about changing that relationship.
We talked about noticing instead of translating.
About thinking in images, not perfect sentences. About allowing a quiet, imperfect inner voice. And about building daily habits that feel human, not mechanical.
If there's one thing we want you to remember, it's this. Thinking in English is not a switch you turn on. It's a space you create.
Some days it will feel easy. Some days it won't.
And spaces grow when you return to them gently, again and again. Both are part of the process. So please don't measure your progress by how perfect you sound. Measure it by how comfortable English feels inside you.
If English is showing up more often in your thoughts, even in small pieces,
then you're already moving forward. You don't need to force confidence. Confidence grows naturally when pressure disappears.
And remember, you're not alone in this. This podcast exists for learners exactly like you. Curious, capable, and sometimes frustrated. If these conversations helped you even a little, we'd love for you to stay with us.
You can support the channel by subscribing, so you don't miss future episodes. It really helps us reach more learners who might need to hear this message.
And if you enjoyed this series, don't forget to like the video. Thank you for listening, for trusting the process, and for giving yourself time.
We'll see you in the next episode.
Until then, be kind to your English.